What if I told you there are resources out there that can help you become a better installer, better estimator, better project manager, and better yet, these resources are free? Would you be interested? That's the subject of today's show.
Don't hang up that phone. We've found what you're looking for. Welcome to the Let's Talk Cabling podcast with Chuck Bowser, RCDD. What exactly does RCDD stand for? Registered Communications Distribution Designer. Just the expert you need to ensure your cable plant performs exactly as designed. Now, send the new guy to the truck for a bucket of dial tone and the cable stretchers, while you listen to an informative program on telecommunications.
Welcome to the show where we tackle questions that are submitted by installers, project managers, estimators, and IT personnel, as well as customers. On this show, we connect at the human level so that we can connect the world. That way we can educate, encourage, and enrich the lives of people in the ICT industry. If you're watching this podcast on YouTube and you like this content, please hit the subscribe button and the bell button to be notified when new shows are being published. If you're listening to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or some other platform, would you please consider leaving us a rating, a 5-star rating? If not a 5-star, shoot me an email and tell me what I could do to make it better. Both of these steps will help us take on the algorithm so more people can hear this message. Also, don't forget our after hours live broadcast, Ask Chuck Bowser RCDD. It's broadcast Thursdays, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where you can submit your questions to be answered live by your favorite RCDD. That would be me. It's on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. If you missed the live version, don't worry, they are recorded for later consumption. All you got to do is go to www.letstalkcabling.com and go to the live stream tab. All of the recorded content is there for your leisure. Also, make sure to check out our webpage where you find other recorded content like our podcasts and vlogs and articles. You can also sign up for our newsletter and ways to support this learning platform like Patreon, Amazon links, and donations through PayPal. This content is free and will always remain free, but if you want to help support it, I will be happy to take that. One of the reasons I started this podcast and vlog was to help educate, encourage, and enrich the lives of people in the ICT industry. When I was a technician brand new to this trade, it was hard to obtain training, and people who were supposed to be mentoring or training you kept their knowledge close to their chest. Either they were not confident in themselves, or they were fearful in that if they shared that information with you, that you would take their job. I was passed over for many training opportunities because I was too valuable to be taken out of the field. I was either running a cutover, or the customer would just collapse if I wasn't there because I was at training. Those taught me a valuable lesson. My future was my responsibility, not anyone else's. If I wanted to make more money, if I needed more knowledge, not just any knowledge, but the right knowledge. Just because that's the way it's always been done doesn't mean it's the way to do it now. Just look at how our industry changed its view on stapling cables. I decided to take my destiny into my own hands and started finding any information any place that I could find. I decided to take my destiny in my own hands and started finding content any place that I could to get reliable information to make me a better at my job. It started off with basically reading catalogs. You see, catalogs are not only have information on the parts that you need to order, but usually they have information in the back about the standards and installations, and many of the manufacturers are starting to get away from printed catalogs, which is a true shame because I learned a lot from looking at the backs of catalogs. Along my journey of 40 years in this industry, I've come across many resources that are available for free. All you have to do is invest time. These are a few of the resources that I've learned about, and I want to share them with you. If you have any resources that you found that I don't list in this content, and you think it's going to help other people in this industry, please share them in the comment section below. That way we can help educate everybody in this industry. The first resource that I want to bring to your attention is Cable Installation and Maintenance Magazine. It is a free magazine that covers our industry and puts their information out there. All you have to do is just sign up for the magazine. Now, since it is a free magazine, you will have to renew often to keep the subscription. Their articles are written by staff, and also subject matter experts in the industry can also submit articles. They cover data centers, standards, cable, connectivity, IP security and AV, wireless 5G, design and installation, and testing, just to name a few of the subjects. It's a great way to find out what the industry is doing, where it is heading, and what it is using. You just have to make the commitment to actually read what they publish. They also do a great job of covering Bixby conferences and relaying the information from those conferences, what's happening in the industry. But they're way much more than just a magazine. Also, if you visit their webpage at cablinginstall.com, you're going to find enough information to keep you busy for a long time. One of my go-to places is their webcasts. They publish several webcasts, each of them about an hour in length, and they cover a myriad of subjects. Many of them, if not all of them, are usually recognized for continuing education credits if you need them to help maintain your certification. They are aired during regular business hours, but don't fret. If you can't watch the live event, they are recorded and you can watch them at your convenience by going to their webpage. The majority of my continuing education credits to maintain my credentials is from this resource. Even if you don't need CECs, it is free training from subject matter experts in their respective areas. The editor of C&IM has also been a guest on this podcast. Another great resource is Bright Talk, found at brighttalk.com. While they're not dedicated to the ICT industry, they have a ton of free resources out there. With a free account, you have access to over 100,000 talks. Some of the areas they cover include business management, finance, human resources, legal, marketing, research development, sales, and information technology. If you're interested in developing your technical skills, you're going to want to focus on that information technology section. If you're like many people that I know and you're starting your own ICT installation company, those other areas are going to be of great interest for you. Unlike cable installation and maintenance webinars, the majority of these talks are not recognized for continuing education credits. Some are, but the majority are not. But that shouldn't stop you from wanting free knowledge. I've had an account with Bright Talk for almost 10 years now and have found their information extremely valuable. Even some of the manufacturers in our industry produces content and puts them out there on Bright Talk, like AEM, Test Manufacturers. They put a lot of content out there. Many of the manufacturers also have free webinars that you can attend for your continuing education credits. One of them is Leviton. You can access them at leviton.com/easylearn. Once you create a free account, go to the Network Solutions tab, and from there, you'll find recorded webinars from the Crosstalk Webinars, which covers data centers, Wi-Fi, 5G, smart buildings, and single-pair Ethernet. They also have AV classes to help you design a proper AV system, from screen setup to speaker placement to number of speakers. Under their technology training section, you're going to find courses on ponds, copper testing, how to perform QA inspections, connected home, and Fiber 101, just to name a few contents. And a lot of those are recognized for continuing education credits. Now, if you're like me, you spend a lot of time listening to podcasts. They're perfect for when you're driving, or you're waiting for a meeting, or other downtime like me, waiting at airports. There are several in our industry, and the first one is the Low Voltage Nation podcast. Low Voltage Nation is dedicated to building a community to help carve out a fulfilling career path for those in the low voltage industry. They discuss low voltage construction and technology industry, so they cover a lot in our area. The second podcast that you should be listening to is STI's Welcome to the Burn Beyond Firestop. Their show is dedicated to life safety and code compliance in a built environment. They strive to find the most interesting people in the firestop space to get their unique perspective. The host, John Selepka, brings firestopping to life with his interesting style, and you will benefit from his information. I have found that generally there are two weakest areas that most installers have are bonding and grounding and firestopping. Again, you can listen to this while you're driving to and from work. A brand spanking new podcast to just surface, and it was just published. It's the Cabling Podcast, produced by Cable Installation and Maintenance. Yeah, the same magazine people. Their first show aired October 25th. Now, based on the quality of content that they produce elsewhere with their magazine and their webinars, I'm sure this is going to be some great content. So you might want to look them up. They are so new, they're not even in the podcast stores yet. I found that YouTube can also be a great resource. The only advice I can give you is to evaluate that source. What I mean by that is, look at who produces the content. If you find 2 videos on how to terminate Category 5 ejects by a specific manufacturer, I would consider the video by the manufacturer over the one from the guy who's just there to make videos. Nearly every manufacturer has a YouTube channel to support their social media efforts, from connectivity manufacturers to test manufacturers to fire stopping. Some content is better than others, but there's still free information. And you can't talk about YouTube content without talking about the pioneer, Ron Kipper, RCDD NTS from Ideal Industries. He led the way for us and other content producers to follow. He was making videos on YouTube for this industry almost 10 years ago on things that you should know as a technician. When I ran the TDM study group recently, one of the assignments that our students had was to bring a minimum of 1 YouTube video each week about the subject that we were discussing that week. We found great videos in common mode versus differential mode, fire stopping, and much more. And it really helped us to understand the TMM better. Finally, live streams. Live streams are the newest thing. They forced the industry to think how to conduct business in this new business dynamic forced on us by COVID. I think this is long overdue in our industry, and you would think that an industry like ours that is deeply involved in technology would be at the leading edge of this. But unfortunately, a lot of people in our industry are late adopters, and this format is one of those examples. In fact, I remember back in the 90s, I had to convince my boss that we should have company emails for business. He made me write him a business analysis with pros and cons to justify the additional expense. I literally drugged that company into the 21st century. Emails now are considered an essential form of communications, and I think that we are at that same juncture now with live streams, podcasts, and vlogs. Live streams give you the ability to learn and have the ability to interact real time with the host and their guest. The first one is, and this one's a little self-serving here, but it's my after hours live stream broadcast on Thursday nights, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. I take questions from the audience and information about design, installation, project management, career path, and much more. And like I mentioned earlier, they're recorded and put on the webpage and YouTube as well. So that way, if you can't be there when the actual live event happens, you can still have access to that content. There are a couple other great live streams that you can watch. And the first one is, and it's a recently new one, Tech Talk with Steve Cowles, RCDD NTS. He has been working in this industry since the mid-'80s and is currently working for AEM Test and Measurement as a manager of customer care. He is brilliant with testers, I'm telling you. He hosts a show every other week with about 20 to 30-minute episodes discussing in-depth problem solving with field testing scenarios, field testing standards, updates, and requirements, and tips and tricks to make your job a little easier. Who wouldn't want to learn something to make their job just a little bit easier? Another favorite of mine is BS with Todd. Todd Morse is a regional sales manager for Brother Solutions. His show is a no-nonsense industrial labeling tips covering labeling best practices, industry trends, and on-the-job applications with labeling tools. His shows are very entertaining, let me tell you, and I love his Toddisms. His show can be watched at bswithtodd.com, and he airs bi-weekly on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So as you can see, there's plenty of information out there that can inform you to help you stay current with codes, standards, and installation practices. All you have to do is commit to the time to read or watch those resources. The ones I presented today are just a sampling of some of the ones that I watch. If you have a resource that I didn't cover and you think people would benefit from that resources, please make sure to put it in the comment section so then we can all learn and become better in this industry. I had a mentor once tell me, you think knowledge is expensive? Try stupidity. Remember, knowledge is power.
That's it for this episode of today's podcast. We hope you were able to learn something. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. Also, leave a rating so we can help even more people learn about telecommunications. Until next time, be safe.